Hello. Thank you for participating in Fiscal Year 2019 Department of Education's Fulbright-Hays Group Projects Abroad Long-Term Technical Assistance webinar. My name is Cory, Neal. I'm the GPA Program Manager. Please note that we will be conducting two separate workshops for this year for the GPA short-term projects and the GPA long-term projects. This technical assistance workshop will focus on long-term projects. Both of these webinars have been pre-recorded and can be accessed through the Department of Education's GPA website and IFLE's YouTube channel. The agenda for the technical assistance workshop is as follows. We will review the purpose of the GPA long-term program. We will also review the competition highlights as referenced in the NIAs. We'll discuss the eligibility requirements for both applicants and participants. We'll review each of the long-term project types. We'll discuss each of the project phases for long-term projects. We will go over allowable cost under the GPA long-term program. We will review the selection criteria and the process for selecting awardees. And lastly, we will provide some helpful tips for developing a competitive application. The Fulbright-Hays GPA program is designed to contribute to the development and improvement of the study of modern foreign languages and area studies in the U.S. by providing training opportunities for faculty, teachers, and upperclassmen and/or graduate students in foreign language countries where the U.S. has diplomatic representation. Long-term advanced overseas intensive language training products are designed to take advantage of the opportunities present in the foreign country that are not present in the United States when providing intensive advanced foreign language training. We define area studies as the study of the aspects of a society or societies, including the study of their geography, history, culture, economy, politics, international relations, or languages. Estimated range of awards are between $50,000 and $250,000, with an average size of an award for long-term products being approximately $185,000. We estimate that we will make 25 awards this year. 15 of those awards we anticipate being for long-term projects. Please note that the department is not bound by any estimates in this notice. For fiscal year 2019, the absolute priority for this competition is that a group project focuses on one or more of the following geographic regions of the world: Africa, East Asia, South Asia, Southeast Asia and the Pacific, the Western Hemisphere, which includes Central and South America, Mexico, and the Caribbean, Eastern and Central Europe and Eurasia, and the Near East. Please note that GPA long-term projects that focus on Western Europe will not be reviewed. These countries include Andorra, Austria, Belgium, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Iceland, Ireland, Italy, Liechtenstein, Luxembourg, Malta, Monaco, Netherlands, Norway, Portugal, San Marino, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, and the UK. GPA long-term applicants can earn additional points if they address the following competitive preference priorities. First, GPA long-term applicants can earn 2 additional points if they are from a minority-serving institution. And secondly, GPA long-term applications can earn 2 additional points if they propose projects that provide substantive training and thematic focus on any foreign modern languages except for English, French, German, and Spanish. Next, I will cover applicant and participant eligibility requirements. Eligible applicants for the 2019 cycle are institutions of higher education, state departments of education, private nonprofit educational organizations, and a consortia of institutions, departments, and organizations. An individual is eligible to participate in a GPA long-term project if he or she is a citizen, national, or permanent resident of the United States, meaning that they have a green card, and they have successfully completed at least 2 years academic training in the language to be studied. If a participant is a native speaker of the language your project intends to study, the participant must still have the 2 years of academic training in this language. Native speakers are not excluded from this requirement. Participants should be studying in the fields of humanities, social sciences, foreign languages, and/or area studies. Generally, this group may include graduate students or juniors or seniors in higher education institutions who are prospective teachers in the areas previously mentioned. They can also include graduate students or juniors and seniors in higher educational institutions who plan to apply their language skills and knowledge of countries vital to the United States national security in fields outside teaching, including government, the professions, or international development. Okay, let's look into the features of a GPA long-term project. Your long-term GPA project must study a language indigenous to the country you plan to study in and be designed for maximum use of local institutions and personnel. Language training must be given at the advanced level, that is, equivalent to that provided to students who have successfully completed at least 2 academic years of language training. GPA long-term grantees must have the appropriate language instructor administer pre- and post-test language evaluations to all participants. Okay, now let's talk numbers. For long-term advanced intensive language project, the minimum time spent in the host country is 8 weeks. This does not include the pre-departure orientation in the United States. Your grant performance period is 24 months. The minimum amount of participants is typically 12 participants and 1 project director for a total of 13 people. The maximum grant award for the maximum grant award for the long-term project is $250,000. This information can be found on page 18 of the application handbook. We highly encourage each applicant to check the State Department's website for alerts and warnings, as GPA applicants proposing to travel to a country that is closed to Fulbrighters will be disqualified. The countries on this slide are the current countries that are closed to Fulbrighters. If you are unsure of a specific country, please feel free to email me at gpa@ed.gov. As a reminder, as we have received several inquiries about Cuba and Egypt, these countries are currently closed to all Fulbrighters. Grantees will have 24 months to carry out their project activities. For fiscal year 2019, the proposed start and end dates are August 31st, 2019 and August 31st, 2021. Now let's discuss the GPA project phases. These phases include the pre-departure phase, the overseas phase, and the post-overseas or follow-up phase. For the pre-departure phase, grantees should allot at minimum 16 hours towards this phase. Pre-departure preparation should consist of conducting a series of lectures on the country of study. Advanced reading material should also be sent to the participants several weeks prior to the pre-departure orientation. For the orientation, we suggest that the applicant include guidelines on conduct, discussions on daily living and traveling in the host country, team building exercise, team assignments and individual proposed projects, cross-cultural training, and language assessments. This slide contains an example of a pre-departure orientation schedule. Please make sure your pre-departure orientation is detailed as demonstrated by this slide. You may include a copy of your pre-departure orientation in the appendices of your application package. Please note this is only a sample Your pre-departure orientation schedule will depend on the intensity of your language program, partners that you may choose to include, etc., etc. The next phase is your overseas phase. This is where you should provide detailed information on your in-country itinerary. These details could include your daily language class itinerary with detailed contact hours. You should have at least 120 in-country contact hours per student. You can also include details about academic lectures, field trips and cultural activities, debriefings and evaluations, and travel arrangements and accommodations. Remember, the more information you provide in your project narrative, the more likely you are to receive a respectable score. Applicants should include in the follow-up phase an end-of-project evaluation to be completed by each participant to assess the quality of the overseas project. The Department of Education reviews each evaluation submitted by the participants to ascertain the success of the project and to provide suggestions for improvement should the grantee submit a subsequent application for funding. The follow-up phase should also include language proficiency post-test results, as well as all other required reports we will touch on later in this webinar. The follow-up phase can include information on staff development, such as workshops or conferences. It can also include information on outreach plans, publicizing and recruiting future participants, and other future outreach activities. Up next are the selection criteria. These will be used to score your application. These 8 criteria are your selection criteria that you will address in your project narrative. Applicants can receive 100 points total for addressing all of the selection criteria. In addition, applicants can receive up to 4 points by addressing the competitive preference priorities specific to long-term projects. Under the plan of operation, which is worth 20 points, applicants should introduce the reader to their institution or organization by providing statistics and other demographic information relative to the project. The need for the project, the selection of the country of study, and the objectives of the project should also be discussed. The project design should be addressed. This generally includes the 3 project phases we discussed earlier in the presentation. Applicants should note how each phase of the project is to be carried out and supported under the plan of operation criteria. Continuing on with the plan of operation. The applicant should also address how the management plan will link all of the project phases and how it will efficiently operate under all the project parties. Applicants should describe in which ways resources and personnel will be used in achieving the objectives of the project and include details of which key personnel will be responsible for vital project components and activities, and describe the how, why, when, and where project activities will take place. Please include a clear description of how projects will provide equal access and equipment for project participants, regardless of race, color, national origin, gender, age, or disability. Many applicants neglect to include this description, which can result in a point deduction. The quality of key personnel is worth 10 points. Applicants should address the qualifications of the U.S. Project Director, which includes their academic training, their field of expertise in the host country, the administrative experience, any languages that they speak, and other related qualifications. It is also important to note the project director's time commitment to the project. Please provide expertise of any other support staff as well as their time commitment to the project. Applicants should also provide host country key personnel qualifications. These can include administrative staff, language teachers, assessors, and evaluators. Please be sure to include their titles, project responsibilities, and their time commitments to the project. Applicants should also show, as a part of the institution's non-discriminatory employment practices, how employment from underrepresented groups will be without regard to race, color, national origin, gender, age, or disability. In the Appendices section, The applicant should upload abbreviated curriculum vitae, which should be no more than 3 pages for key personnel. The budget and cost effectiveness is worth 10 points. Applicants should demonstrate and justify that all allowable expenses presented are adequate and reasonable in today's market and necessary to accomplish the project's goals. Applicants should discuss their project's cost effectiveness and show the relationship between the project's costs and the project's objectives. GPA programs do not require matching funds, but we do highly recommend using matching funds. In the budget narrative attachment, applicants should upload a detailed, itemized line budget and accompanying budget narrative that clearly outlines how the costs have been calculated and are necessary to the project's objectives. Remember, long-term projects have a 24-month project period, so your budget should reflect those 24 months. When developing your budget, keep in mind that funding can be used for the following: lodging and meals, round-trip international travel, and as a reminder, all flights to and from the U.S. must be Fly America Act compliant. You can also use funding for travel within the host country, educational materials purchased in the host country, meeting space within the host country, local administrative fees and services, and host country evaluators. It is important to note that the grant does not provide funds for the project-related expenses within the United States. This includes U.S.-based salaries, pre-departure orientation, if your pre-departure orientation is held in the United States, and any follow-up activities in the U.S. These items may be included as part of the applicant matching contribution. I would also like to note that the GPA grant may pay for costs associated with pre- and post-foreign language assessments, which are required for long-term projects. We will cover the cost associated with those assessments if those assessments are conducted in the host country. The next 2 slides contain an example of the budget sheet. We recommend applicants organize their budgets into 3 categories to indicate each funding stream, which could include federal funds from the GPA grant, institutional funds, and the participant cost share. The evaluation plan is worth 20 points. A well-designed evaluation plan includes clearly articulated goals, measurable objectives, both quantitative and qualitative, a way to collect data to show progress, formal evaluations at each phase of the project, and informal evaluations, which can take the form of midpoint briefings or daily journals. To add credibility to the evaluation plan, we highly encourage using an external evaluator that is independent of the project, meaning someone who is outside of your academic department or even external to your institution. Evaluation instruments that will be used to collect data during all project phases should also be included in your appendices. And a timetable should be included to highlight when key components of the evaluation plan will occur. Okay, here is an example of a performance measure form, or PMF, which is included in your application. Applicants will be required to develop the proposed goals and the project-specific performance measures and activities on the performance measure form. In this example, the project's goal is to improve foreign language proficiency of U.S. educators. You should clearly demonstrate achievement of this goal through activities, data indicators, frequency, and data sources. GPA performance measures should be linked to the overall performance measure of the program, which includes GEPRA Measure 1, the percentage of GPA participants in the advanced language program who increased their reading, writing, and/or listening, speaking foreign language scores by 1 proficiency level. The efficiency of the GPA long-term program will be measured by considering the cost per GPA participant who increased his or her foreign language score in reading, writing, listening, or speaking by at least 1 proficiency level. The adequacy of resources criteria is worth 5 points. When addressing this criteria, ask yourself, what resources will I use to accomplish the project goals I have outlined in my project, both in the U.S. and abroad? You should indicate specifics regarding use of facilities, supplies, and other resources to show that they are adequate to carry out the activities in all phases of the project. In the Appendices section, applicants should upload letters of support from both the U.S. and support country institutions and individuals. Potential impact is worth 15 points. What would be the potential impact of your project on the development and improvement of the study of modern foreign languages and area studies in U.S. education? Describe the possible long-term benefits to project participants, their students, if applicable, colleagues, and communities resulting from successful completion of the grant. Indicate the process by which resulting curricula or projects or research will be evaluated for accuracy and effectiveness. Relevance to institutional development is worth 10 points. Applicants should discuss the missions, goals, and objectives of the applicant institution, as well as what it would mean to you to have the GPA grant. You should describe the relationship between the project and the institution's program development in modern foreign languages and area studies, and outline what changes will take place due to a GPA project. The need for overseas experience is worth 10 points. Applicants should discuss how their project will bring about a better understanding of the host country. You should also address the question, why this particular group to this particular place? And lastly, describe the relationship to the project and the institution's program development in modern foreign language and area studies. The grants.gov Appendices provides applicants with an Other Attachments section that can include preliminary pre-departure orientation agenda, overseas project itinerary, follow-up activities, CVs of key personnel, as a reminder, a 3-page maximum for those, any letters of support, and examples of evaluation materials, project timeline charts, project-specific PMF forms with proposed measures and activities. Okay, at this time, I would like to provide you with some tips on putting together a successful application package. It's good stuff. As you are getting organized, we encourage applicants to review abstracts of funded grantees and past successful proposals. These are located on the GPA website. We encourage applicants to develop internal and external linkages that will assist you in putting together a solid application. For example, you may wish to meet with relevant staff from the Grants and Contracts Office, or coordinate with your colleagues on campus that have international education and grants experience to develop a robust plan of operation and management plan. In addition, applicants that have secured an external evaluator will send a strong signal to peer reviewers that you are serious about your evaluation. We strongly encourage applicants to review the FAQs on our website, which have been recently updated, and we advise you to designate a management team with international and grants experience. You should identify your institution or department's needs and wants, and you should request letters of support from both the U.S. and abroad. We also highly recommend that you review the Federal Register Notice and the GPA program websites for updated information. And lastly, please feel free to contact me at gpa@ed.gov, and I will be more than happy to assist you with any questions you may have along the way. When writing your proposal, make sure you address all selection criteria, and when you do so, do that in the order listed in the application packet. Applicants should not make peer reviewers search for the information. Generating a table of contents could be helpful when developing a highly organized application. You should also provide a detailed plan of operation and evaluation, and include sufficient details so that someone unfamiliar with your project could conduct it. Write clear, measurable goals, objectives, and outcomes. Provide a specific and detailed budget. Avoid grammatical errors and also avoid specific professional jargon or acronyms. And use persuasive description of how your project will operate. I cannot stress to you enough how important it is to be clear, concise, and detailed. When submitting your application, make sure you register early on grants.gov to avoid any system issues. Save your written proposal to avoid any computer issues. If your institution is not funded, consult the reviewer comments and reapply. And please, please, please do not wait until the last minute to submit. The deadline for submitting your application is March 25th, 2019 at 4:30 and 0 seconds Eastern Standard Time. All applicants will be notified of their results via email by September 30th, 2019 at the latest. You will be notified whether your application was successful or not. Scores and comments will be sent to all applicants via mail, and for successful grantees, be prepared to get rolling. The websites on this slide will be very helpful to you as you work on your applications. You can find sample abstracts from past successful projects, sample narratives, submissions instructions, and a link to subscribe to our quarterly newsletter. This slide contains a link to the GPA website as well as my contact information. Once again, please do not hesitate to reach out to me, as I am more than happy to answer any questions, no matter how big or how small. All right, thanks for taking the time to listen to the GPA Long-Term Technical Assistance webinar. I hope it will help you in putting together a competitive application. We wish you the best of luck, and we look forward to your application.